Welcome to CBC Windsor News at 6. I'm Meg Roberts. Thanks so much for spending part of your evening with us tonight. A handful of buses in Essex engulfed in flames, but a stroke of quick thinking saved a number of them. Plus, staff and former students are chiming in on the university's decision to close the theater company arm of the School for Dramatic Arts, calling the decision heartbreaking. And artwork for the Gordie Howe International Bridge was shared with the public today. The sculpture symbolizing hope and freedom for past and current generations. A local waxing salon has been ordered to pay $35,000 in damages to an Indigenous transgender woman who was refused service in 2018.
She had tried to access a very routine sort of personal service for a cis person, and for her to come from that and experience great harm and go through the legal system of the Human Rights Tribunal, she really found peace at the end of it. This isn't just a case of what she goes through, that so many people go through it. So she really hopes that this decision will help make change in society for trans people.
The decision against Mad Wax Windsor was made by the Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario. Documents identify the complainant only with the initials AB. 6 years ago, AB tried to book a leg waxing appointment by phone. She alleges salon staff and the business owner subjected her to discriminatory and retaliatory behavior. The adjudicator sided with AB, concluding that the actions of Mad Wax Windsor struck at the core of the applicant's identity and in a very public way. Along with paying $35,000 in damages, the business owner and staff must undertake human rights training. Mad Wax is fighting the decision. A lawyer representing the salon has filed for a judicial review. Mad Wax is now located at the St. Clair Shores Shopping Center in Lakeshore. Quick action may have saved a fleet of school buses from burning in Essex. With the fire department hosing down the flames, a pair of employees jumped into action. The CBC's Chris Ensing reports.
I'm standing where the worst of it happened. You can see the buses just destroyed by the flames, by this fire, the intense heat. You can still smell some of what's burnt here today. But let's take you back to when this happens. 8 o'clock last night, there starts to be smoke rising from the depot. 2 employees show up at the same time as the firefighters. And what they do saves more buses from being destroyed. They run into the depot's office. They start grabbing keys of buses that they know will go on bus routes the next day to take students to their exams. And they start moving those buses away from the ones that have already caught fire. Now, the flames were spreading across buses that are retired, out of service, no longer used to take students to school. These are more for mechanics who might need spare parts. And as they're doing that, the fire department is spraying everything down with water, trying to control the flames. In the end, 6 buses get destroyed, but none that are used on active contracts. The fire itself still under investigation, trying to figure out what exactly started those flames, but the bus service saying that it did not impact anybody's day-to-day plans as far as getting to school or to classes, and saying that thankfully nobody was injured. Chris Ensing, CBC News, Essex.
39-year-old man has been arrested after police say he chased a person down Olette Avenue with a machete. Police say it happened yesterday around 2 p.m. on Olette near Elliott Street West. After receiving reports, police say they quickly located the suspect and arrested him near Wyandotte Street West and Pelissier. No injuries have been reported. Well, staff and former students say the closure of the theater company at the University of Windsor Drama School is heartbreaking. This week, administration made the decision to close university players, citing budget considerations to help ease a $5.6 million shortfall. Those in the dramatic arts community say it's a huge loss.
So this is a fundamental part of the program that unfortunately the University of Windsor has blindly and quickly gotten rid of. And I think it's always so easy to get rid of the arts when people aren't paying attention to it, when people think, oh, you know what, easy to cut money from that because, we have plenty of art. We have plenty of entertainment out there. Who needs local talent doing anything? Well, if you want to see people from your hometown doing anything, or you want to see people succeed, that you can feel proud about, it's an integral part of the community. And if you don't have that, then it's just kind of sad.
Without the actual theater production, it's like you're taking out the heart of this community. I honestly don't know what would happen. It's just really sad to think about it potentially just like not being there, because U Windsor's drama and theater program is like one of the best. So I think that it would be detrimental to all of the drama and theater program.
Artwork destined for the entrance of the Gordie Howe International Bridge project was put on display today. It's a large circular metal structure constructed out of replica church pews, a tribute to the region's Underground Railroad history. Some renderings of the artwork are currently on display at the Chimchuk Museum. We stopped by to speak with the artist.
The work's a series of church pews that have been chopped up and mutilated, and we wanted to show the ugliness of the Underground Railroad, and by mutilating the church pews in that sense was how we did that. But then tying in the historical elements of the church, it forms this ring-like shape, and it asks the viewer to look to the sky and look to the heavens in many sense, and put them in the place of what an enslaved person might have been doing in that time. And the ring structure, it reinforces this idea of community, this sense of strength. A circle is never ending in that sense, and it speaks to that sort of motif. The sculpture does light up at night, thinking on an enslaved person traveling at night, looking for the North Star, trying to find a quote-unquote guiding light. That was an important element of this piece. It was imperative for them to cross the river at points where the river was less wide, and so where the work actually is going to be sitting is close to that point, so it is considered a historic site there. The story I'm trying to tell is of unity, hope, togetherness, really the resilience and the strength of the people that kind of came before us, those that were seeking freedom, but also those that were trapped as well. And so really just talking to those that helped to form Canada to what we know it is today and make the world that we know a better place.
Turning now to the ongoing talks between the LCBO and its unionized workers. The two sides are currently in contract talks, with the strike deadline looming 2 weeks from tonight. As senior Queen's Park reporter Mike Crawley explains, there's never been a strike in the history of the provincial liquor store, but this summer could bring the first.
A hot start to the summer in Ontario, with the possibility of an LCBO strike on the horizon. It's a prospect this province has faced quite a few times. 2009, LCBO staff vote 93% in favor of a strike, triggering long lineups and stocking up, but a last-minute deal is reached. 2013, another strike vote, this time 95%, with the strike deadline just ahead of the May-long weekend. But then...
We're happy that a strike has been averted.
And 2017, déjà vu all over again. Strike vote, stocking up, and a deal at the deadline. So why would the 2024 LCBO strike threat turn out any different? Consider this.
The largest transformation of Ontario's alcohol marketplace since the end of Prohibition nearly 100 years ago.
Thousands of convenience stores will soon be able to sell beer, wine, and ready-to-drink cocktails. That plan looms large over the negotiations and has LCBO workers worried their jobs are at risk.
A bad deal, one that hands over more of the alcohol market to big grocers and convenience chains like Loblaws and Circle K.
Some 3/4 of LCBO customer service staff are casual. The union says it wants strong job security language in its new contract.
What we have put across the table to them is a comprehensive plan that in detail protects good jobs in our communities. It makes sure that there is security for those part-time workers.
I think what's really interesting about this round of negotiations as well is that they're really focused a lot on some of the non-monetary issues.
The union is also seeking a big increase in severance pay for laid-off workers.
If down the road LCBO decides to shutter some stores it's going to make it very expensive for them to do that.
In a statement, LCBO management says it does not want to strike and continues to meet the union at the bargaining table. Meanwhile, in advance of a possible walkout, store hours will be extended starting June 27th. The union will be in a legal strike position on July 5th. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
The heat dome is still hovering over much of central and eastern Canada.
It really is best to stay inside during those peak hours, of which are really kind of 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And if you don't have air conditioning inside, keep all your blinds down, curtains closed, things like that, to stop the sun from getting directly into your house or your apartment.
Heat warnings are in effect in 6 provinces, stretching from Ontario to Newfoundland. Parts of Ontario got a bit of relief with thunderstorms this morning, but the provincial government says electricity usage is being pushed to near record levels. Atlantic Canada is getting the brunt of the heat today, potentially setting records. Temperatures are set to hit the high 30s there. With the humidex, it will feel much hotter. Hot, humid conditions are expected to last until tomorrow for most places, but locally, people could suffer until Sunday. A heat dome is also affecting much of the U.S. Midwest and Northeast and is expected to peak today. Well, Colette, happy first day of summer.
Hey, same to you as well. We
It's
get
hot.
to say this again tomorrow because it'll be the first full day of summer.
Fair, fair. Well, I can certainly feel the heat dome today, Colette, but I think I can actually see it. Just looking out at Detroit, it looks all hazy. It's not very clear, stagnant air.
Yeah, there's a reason, we call it that dome, right? Because it's stagnant, it's pressing and that heat towards the surface and nothing is kind of circulating, and that's what happens with the particulates and the pollutants as well. They get kind of trapped and we get the hazy skies, a lot of moisture in those air molecules as well. We know the humidity is so high. So yes, our heat warning, we may find ourselves in this for a few more days yet, whereas, seeing it dropped elsewhere in parts of central Canada and eastern Canada because the heat dome is just kind of retrograding, and as it does, it's still there, still having an effect on southwestern Ontario, but just a bigger part of the U.S. in terms of what we'll be seeing. See how the temperatures, they dipped with those thunderstorms rolling through? So yeah, our readings were up there, low 30s, feeling like 42, and now it feels like 34. So a bit of a reprieve, then the sun comes back through, the temperatures heat back up, then more thunderstorms, and they cool back down. For the moment, we're in this kind of lull here. There are still some cells back to the southwest of us in that development, and there are some strong cells, in fact, just a little bit further now. That's where they've gone towards London and Kitchener and through that region. A lot of lightning strikes associated. Red is where the warnings are now, so those warned cells where they are severe, and we are still in a watch for that development. So a few more still coming into these evening hours, and I know it's Thursday evening. It's an important evening for the CBC Windsor team, but there could be a few thunderstorms rolling through. That risk will be there. Look at all the lightning strikes as well. So we have to watch out for small hail, some of those winds that can gust to 80 or 90 kilometers an hour can be very dangerous because they can bring down power lines, or tree limbs that will bring down power lines. Okay, it looks like some more development, or the remnants of it will break down too, but that's going to be kind of right through the neighborhood from about 8 to 9 o'clock. Then we get the break. We tend to see a break through the overnight, and then we go through the day Friday, and we're going to do it all over again. Because we will have that buoyant air in place, as well as that cold front, that frontal boundary that won't quite overtake our skies and cool us down, unfortunately, although it's having an impact. If you're going to be traveling, it's having an impact on other parts of Ontario. Temperature overnight tonight, lows of around 20 to 23, 21 for Windsor, and then here we go tomorrow. 32. It is still going to feel like 40 to 43. That continues on Saturday. I do have a chance of thunderstorms in Saturday as well. A lot of that activity is actually going to stay north, like Sarnia and northward. So Saturday may not be a bad day in terms of the wet weather. You just really have to be vigilant and alert when these storms do bubble up, because some of them can be on the stronger side, Meg.
We got to be on our toes, that's for sure, Colette.
You got it.
Thanks so much. The annual Gary L. Parent Labor Activist Awards are happening right now at the Foglar Club. It's the first time the awards have been held since Parent's death in April. He was a longtime leader in Windsor's auto and labor community. One of the night's biggest awards is going to Sandra Sawley. She's a retired labor leader for Ontario secondary school support staff.
I think because I was a child and youth worker in the Greater Essex Board, that was my career before I got involved full-time in the union. I really believed in the community supporting kids that came from poverty and from families that maybe just couldn't provide for them.
As we just chatted with Colette about that, weather is keeping us on our toes with those constant chances of thunderstorms and rain. Downtown Windsor is looking sunny after a major downpour just about a half hour ago. Stay tuned. More news coming up after the break. WestJet continues to fly today after a strike by mechanics was avoided overnight. It's one less thing to worry about during this busy travel season. Ali Chassan has some tips on how to navigate the airport easier.
The busyness comes in waves. We are just at the beginning of peak travel summer season at Pearson Airport. At the height of it, at its busiest, you could see 160,000 travelers pass through here. That sounds like a headache, but there are things that you can do to help travel go a little smoother, and that includes getting on the apps.
So we have a number of tools in place to do just that. So YYZ Express is a really important one for anybody who wants to book their spot on the security line before they get to the airport. So you can come to the airport and use a special line if you've booked your slot. We have thousands of passengers who are heading to the US this summer. So mobile passport control. You can fill out your information before you get to the airport and use a special line for US Customs as well. We have wait time dashboards. So if you're on your way to the airport, you can see exactly how long the wait times are here. You can book your parking in advance. We've implemented kiss and ride stations near the airport so you can avoid congestion curbside. There are a number of things that we've put in place to make sure that the passenger journey is as seamless as possible, but it's important to remember that a lot of people are traveling and it's going to be busy this summer.
That's all great info, but it's not going to help you much if your airline goes on strike, which WestJet narrowly avoided today. Maintenance workers were set to strike, but they are back at the bargaining table with the company, and passengers are en route to their destination. I know this woman was relieved.
The rule of thumb has always been don't fly Air Canada, but that's changed to don't fly WestJet.
Right. Were you on a WestJet flight?
I am today, and I'll make it home just in time, but I guess they've rescinded their...
Because they could have gone on strike.
Yeah, it's scary when you go somewhere and you're not sure if you're going to make it home.
There are still things that can slow you down at security. Now, most know that you can't have more than 100 milliliter bottles of liquids or gels in your carry-on, but sometimes rules catch you by surprise. I bet you wouldn't expect a teddy bear to be contraband.
So if you have kids or they have stuffies or things like that, it's important to feel it, make sure that if it's sand or anything like that. He's very heavy if you feel him, so just take a look. If it's fluff, there's no problem, but if it's granular like sand or salt, you have to keep that 350 ml. We like to think of a soda can, so anything less than a soda can, it's fine, like Beanie Babies, things like that, no problems, but guys like this, he's unfortunately too big. But you can still keep him, he just has to go in your check bag. When in doubt, just look it up, and if you're really in doubt and you don't have time to look it up, I always say put it in your check bag. That's the safest bet, always put it in your check bag.
When in doubt, look it up at torontopearson.com. You can also find the links to those airport apps there as well. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Mississauga.
It's been unbearably hot for us humans, which means our pets are feeling it as well. That story coming up after the break.
you.
The heat wave that's rolling across eastern Canada is being billed as a preview of what the country can expect for the rest of the summer. It's muggy, uncomfortable, and potentially dangerous. That's true for people and pets. CBC's Hannah Vino has more tips for keeping your furry friends healthy in the heat.
As Atlantic Canada experiences some extreme heat this week, Patty Seaward wants to make sure her Pomeranian Caesar is safe during the heat wave.
I know some of the signs, like I usually feel this pavement. If I find the pavement too hot for my hand, it's going to be hot for him. And if I can't stand it outside, he can't stand it outside. His concern is my main thing, right? To protect him.
As the weather gets warmer, this veterinarian says pet owners need to know how to alleviate the risk of heat stroke.
It's really important. I know it's something from common sense. Sometimes we forget the common sense, but here is about the life of our pets. Heat stroke can kill them.
He says that it's important to monitor their breathing, watch for dry or sticky gums, and a rapid heart rate. These can indicate that a pet is dehydrated or going into heat stroke. Freya Poirier is taking extra measures to ensure her dog has a cool space available this summer.
I actually went to Costco right when they opened, worried that they'd be out of ACs, and picked up an AC for our bedroom so when it's really hot on Thursday, we can keep the house cool.
Paw Prints Doggy Daycare and Grooming is doing everything necessary to keep the four-legged friends in their care happy and protected. When the dogs aren't out enjoying the refreshing pools, they will be able to relax inside with the air conditioning.
We plan to have the dogs inside for most of the day, and we also have cooling mats for them, and we make sure that there's lots of fresh water outside for them and inside as well, but we want to make sure that the pools are nice and cool. We might even bring in some ice, things like that for them to play with during the day.
Dr. Cedillo Flores says the best thing to do for your pets is to change your routine on hot days. Reducing the time spent outdoors is key.
Most of us, we walk our dogs around 9, 10 a.m. or in the afternoon, right after a work day. It's too hot for them. I would say if you are gonna take them outside for some outdoor activities, early in the morning and late at night. We want them walking around without the sunlight over them.
Keeping them cool, hydrated, and out of the sun is the best way to protect your pet from heat stroke this summer. Hannah Vino, CBC News, Halifax.
Celebrated Canadian actor Donald Southernland has died. His family announced his passing this afternoon. Born in St. John, New Brunswick, Southernland's film and television career spanned 7 decades. He won many awards, including a Primetime Emmy and 2 Golden Globes.
Looks like we're gonna find ourselves another bridge.
Southernland appeared in many other popular films, including Kelly's Heroes, The Dirty Dozen, Ordinary People, and The Hunger Games. He's been described as the best actor never to have won an Oscar for a role, but he received an honorary Oscar in 2017. Southernland was also an officer of the Order of Canada. He was married 3 times and had 5 children, including Kiefer, a well-known actor in his own right. He was 88 years old. A storied baseball park is about to make history again. Rickwood Fields in Alabama is the oldest professional ballpark in the U.S. Tonight, it will host its first ever regular season Major League Baseball game.
You are walking through a place where greats have also walked.
This just feels like the perfect time, the perfect place, with the perfect people.
The ballpark has hosted more than 180 Hall of Famers, including Babe Ruth, Ty Cobb, and Willie Mays, who died 2 days ago. Tonight's game between the San Francisco Giants and the St. Louis Cardinals honors the Negro Leagues, which were active from the 1920s to the 60s. A zoo in Chicago has welcomed 2 new cute and cuddly residents. Meet Brumbly and Willem, who made their public debut this week. The koalas are settling into their new home in a special habitat at the Brookfield Zoo. They are the first of their kind to call the facility home in its 90-year history. The adorable 2-year-olds were born at the San Diego Zoo and transported to their new digs just last week. Eucalyptus leaves are brought in twice a week to feed the pair. Koalas are listed as a vulnerable species in their native Australia. due to deforestation, drought, and disease. That's it for CBC Windsor News. Don't forget, for news anytime, you can go to our website at cbc.ca/Windsor. You can also download the CBC News app for stories that matter most to you. And don't forget to watch the National tonight at 9 on CBC. Thanks so much for tuning in. Looking forward to seeing you back here tomorrow night.